All right. So, are we live now? I've tried to fix this. I've tried to fix this, but I need to know from you guys if we're live or if we're not. Because on my side, YouTube is completely wrecking itself. I am not entirely sure what's going on. It looks like we're live, but then again, gonna have to wait, I guess. Phage Lives, how you doing? I am trying my absolute best. Morning, how you doing, bro? I'm really trying. Token, how you doing? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I apologize profusely for what just happened. I started streaming, everything was going really well, and then suddenly the internet started dropping, and then just gone. Just completely gone. Don't know why, but the problem on YouTube is, unlike Twitch, you can just restart the stream and everything's good. You cannot do that on YouTube. Once it's done, and it will not stream again to that particular stream. So I had to make a whole new stream in order to get it to... I'm so sorry, is basically what I'm trying to say to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to each and one of you to Barrens Chat 12. I really appreciate all of you being here. Brian, how you doing? Cesius, how you doing? Alpha, Ortangu, Epic Thulu, how you guys doing? Hashil Games, how you doing? The Beast of Sweden, how you doing, bro? You debate South Africa? It's not just YouTube, though. It's not just South Africa. It's sort of YouTube limitations to streaming that is just annoying. Super annoying. I don't know why they haven't yet adapted to it. I guess it's to make VODs a little bit better so that people can watch offline, but it still sucks. So yeah, I'm so sorry. Ryan, how you doing, brother? Vlad, how you doing, bro? The great, I wish it was just me trolling you. I promise you, I wish. Ladies and gentlemen, have I had a week? Have I had a week? Oh my fuck, have I had a week? I've dealt this entire week with a Tyler that cosplays as a homeless man on the weekends, I think. And he sort of got his days mixed up. It's been terrible. Like, actually terrible. The dude had to be finished already by Monday, actually. We finished yesterday. He finished yesterday, and all he had to do was tile a shower and a little bit of wall. A little bit of wall and a shower. It took him a whole week to do it. So, for those of you that was wondering where were the Twitch streams this week, I was looking after a Tyler. That's where the Twitch streams was. And then you had to fall for the bad take nonsense, Rip. What bad take nonsense? I didn't fall for that. If you watched my video, and I made a follow-up video about this, DeGray, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure where people get this from. In an 11-minute video, and I went and I fucking counted it. In an 11-minute video on her bad take, I spent about 32 seconds talking about her calling her kids a disability. The rest of it was actual legitimate criticisms about the bullshit that she was spewing. Like, out of an 11-minute video, 32 seconds is, haha, she called her kids a disability, fucking moron. And then the actual criticisms about why would you want a pause function in a game where a pause function would actually break the game. And then I made a follow-up video having to explain by the numbers why a pause function in Elden Ring would actually break that game. So, yeah, just... So, Doranvid about the Sacred Flame and Holy Necromancy. I can do that in a few hours. Do what? Oh, yeah, you should be able to tile up... Anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. That's not why we're here. We're here to talk about World of Warcraft. All right? We're here to talk about WoW. For the next 2 hours, hopefully I entertain you. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. I'm a rich bitch. Hopefully you have fun.
I had to ask
and if you don't have fun,
have you listened to the War Within title music?
That's
I
very
may be
loud.
wrong, but
Holy
I think the
shit,
song they are
that's loud.
singing
I'm
is
so
the
sorry
Radiant
for
song
breaking
everyone is hearing.
your ears,
You should
lady.
give it a look.
I am so sorry for breaking all of your ears. But, Ryan, with the $10, I appreciate you. Thank you, sir. You are far too kind. I had to ask this quick. Have you listened to the War Within title music? I may be wrong, but I think the song they are singing is the Radiant song everyone is hearing. You should give it a look. I have listened to it. It's beautiful. And I get what you're coming from. Although I don't think the Radiant song that everyone is hearing is so much music as it is visions. But the visions have music attached to it. So from there, I have no problem believing that that is at least part of what we're hearing in the login music. And to be fair, that sort of leads perfectly into the first topic. I didn't know if I was going to discuss this topic, but I should probably, because people still haven't let this go. Can I just ask, by a show of fingers, right? So just type. Does any of you really hate the login screen? Like, do you guys hate it? How do you feel about it? Give me a 1 if you absolutely hate it. A 2 if you're sort of, I couldn't care less. And a 3 if you actually love it. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Dude, I have TTAs on Twitch as well, profile. I have TTAs everywhere. I don't hate it, I don't care. So a 2, all right. 2.5, all right. Ashiel, you're sort of leaning towards the more, it's all right. 1.5, all right. I respect that. You see, so I'm actually one of the weird guys at this point, I think. I like it. Like, I really like it. Just FYI. I think it's a really good logging screen. And the reason I really like it is I like simplicity. I think simplicity really gels with me. If you look at my house, if you look at how I live, I like things that are simple. I don't like big, flashy bullshit things. I prefer simple. But what I like about this login screen specifically, the thing that really takes me about this login screen is actually the potential for growth on this. It looks almost like a work in progress, kind of. It's complete, but it's not complete, if you get what I'm saying. So it feels like a kind of login screen that will slightly change over the course of maybe even the whole of the first expansion. So every single patch, there will be something added to this login screen. So almost like the login screen itself is going to be telling a kind of story of the expansion, how the expansion plays out. It feels like the kind of login screen where it starts really basic because this is the foundational level. And then every single patch, new things will be added into it to sort of really bring it to life. I like the possibilities of it. Now, will I agree with everyone that it's not as epic as some of the ones we had in the past? You know, the Wrath of the Lich King. Well, yeah, of course, I'll agree with that. Wrath of the Lich King had an epic one. And most of the time, that's what login screens are. But I do think that a lot of people got way too excited about the login screen issue. Because, let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, how long do you watch the login screen on average throughout an expansion? Like, let's be real, you barely see it. Right back in the day, it mattered because you had to physically type in your email and your password every single time you wanted to log in. But now you hit play and it basically just skips through that in seconds, right? And then you're in the actual character select screen, and there you're going to be met with the warband screen, which, let's be real, is a hell of a lot cooler than the previous, the old screens that we used to have. So I'm actually, like, that's what I'm super excited for, is the warband screen that we're going to be met with. Only after a disconnect, when it puts me in the login screen. Yeah, and then you immediately leave that, or you hit the reconnect button, right? I mean, I like to get high before I log in, so I stare for... I wonder what's with all the cracks. Will Azeroth hatch out? Moshfront, so there's a number of arguments around this. One of the key things for me, at least, with Azeroth is I still question whether or why Azeroth is still in the planet in the first place. Why hasn't she hatched yet? That makes no sense to me, quite frankly, because I get the argument that she was asleep and she still had to grow, but she's been talking. If we believe Magni, she's been talking to Magni. She's been telling Magni what to do, how he needs to act, where he needs to go. She's been directing us. She's been showing us visions now. Like, bro, this chick is awake. She's no longer sleeping, and yet, you know what this is? Remember when you were a kid and you had to go to school, but you didn't want to go to school, and so you pretended to be asleep? That's what Azeroth is currently doing. Like, everyone's knocking, her parents are calling her, she's late for school, but she's just keeping her eyes closed and pretending to be asleep because she will not wake up. I think there's something else going on there. As I've said in the past, to me, at least, it reads like Azeroth was placed in a stasis state almost, where she can never wake up. Like, there is just no way for her to wake up. But even then, if you look at all of the cinematics, in one of the cinematics, they actually show Azeroth and then Azeroth cracking. It's in one of the cinematics. I can't remember which one. We should probably quickly check that. Hold on. One of the new cinematics. I'm quickly going to check. Hold up. Is it this one? Let me just make sure.
For so
Oh, yes. It's this one. All right, so quickly take a look at this. All right, take a look at what happens here.
will be mine.
Do you guys see that? That is not an accident. And if you haven't noticed, you can actually go look at all of the previous logos for World of Warcraft. There are always major secrets hidden within those logos. Like, Blizzard doesn't just accidentally do anything in those logos. And if you go back and you look at this, just take a look. Okay, I'm gonna slow this down so that you can actually see it. Just take a look at what is transpiring here. My question is, only this side cracking or the other side too? Well, we'll see in a second, but just take a look at this, right? Now, I'm not sure if we should be paying attention to where the cracks start. That I can't tell you. The problem also, of course, is that based on where the map is, it's not entirely obvious where we are. It looks like the cracks almost start in the Eastern Kingdoms, but then it could also be somewhere else, because you also see a bit of a crack starting over here, over yonder. And then you have another one that's starting here, which actually seems to be almost like a clustered one, whereas perhaps where the new expansion will sort of take place. So I don't know if we should be paying attention to exactly where the cracks start, although that could be important to some extent. But if you look at it, it seems to by the end. So right here, it's almost as if Azeroth is ready to explode, don't you think? And then, I'm glad I paused at this exact moment, because we were actually going to talk about this tonight. Can you see the ring, the Titan ring around the planet? As the planet is starting to crack, look at the Titan ring. It is broken. You keep playing, and it almost comes together, but you can see the cracks already. The cracks are forming. So this, I would argue, this should actually be viewed almost in reverse. As to be fair, I wouldn't say that these are necessarily domination runes specifically. The problem with trying to understand the runic languages of Azeroth is it's nigh impossible, because we don't have an actual record of all of the different rune languages. Because remember, rune language is something that exists everywhere. Druids have a form of rune language. Mages have a form of rune language. Titans have a form of rune language. Demons have a form of rune language. Warlocks have a form of rune language. And then also the death or the domination rune language. It's all languages made up of these runes that all I can think of, the runes were knowledge of the first ones. It was sort of their language, and that language itself. So you almost have to think of that language as a magical source of in itself. And these runes hold incredible magic. And depending on how you place these runes, and maybe depending on the surface on which these runes are placed, they will hold different properties. So domination magic, you sort of put these runes in this order and it makes domination magic. And then you take these runes and you put them in this order and it makes life magic, right? So the runes it's the same runes, but they can do different things depending on how you arrange them and what you do with them specifically. That's sort of at least my view on it right now. For me, though, I look at this ring and to me, it signifies the Titan's hold on Azeroth being shattered. And the second the Titan's hold on Azeroth is shattered, Azeroth is finally able to break free. Azeroth is finally able to be born. Now, a lot of people might immediately say, but wait a second, Akalon, does that not mean the end of Azeroth? And technically it could, right? So it could mean the end of Azeroth. The problem is that we don't know what it looks like when a Titan is born. We know that Titans don't necessarily have to have material bodies. They can have spiritual bodies, as the Titans show us when they arrive on the Pantheon, and then when they finally manifest in their physical bodies. So they do have the ability to turn themselves into something else. You have Sargeras, for example, that turns into a great big thundering cloud, and then eventually they get Sargeras out of that cloud. So clearly, Titans don't have to be chained to their physical bodies. It's more likely that the physical bodies that we see of the Titans is a chosen visage of the Titans. And that's not actually how the Titans look. The Titans may look hideous. Just FYI, this is something I started to think about a while back. We look at the old gods and we view them as monsters because they kind of look like monsters, right? But what if what we see the Titans as isn't really what they look like? Because based on all the things we know about the Titans, the way their physical bodies operate looks a little bit more like visages than what it does actual mortal bodies. Like, for example, you and me, us players, we have mortal bodies, and our mortal bodies are our mortal bodies, right? We can't change those. The Titans clearly can. They can change their size. They can change the way they look. We know that Sargeras changed himself into a creature of light when he was speaking to the Draenei all the way back, right? So clearly the Titans have the ability to change their appearances. So it is entirely possible that what we think the Titans look like are not at all what the Titans actually look like. They look like but that's a whole tangent that I'm just going off of because I think it's cool. But fundamentally, we don't know what it looks like when a planet is born. We do know that Azeroth cares about us because she chose us and she has this special bond with us and she's been using us in order to protect herself. I don't believe that Azeroth will harm us. So I don't think that these cracks are to signify the destruction or the complete destruction of Azeroth. But if I were Blizzard and I had an ace up my sleeve and I had 6 years to basically build the next expansions, I would use these cracks as a sort of cataclysm opportunity to revamp and rebuild the world. That's what I would do. And if you think Cataclysm did a pretty decent job of revamp lighting the planet, right? But consider that Blizzard only had 2 years to do it in. Blizzard now has almost 6. So Blizzard now, for the first time ever, really do have the time to change the world and use those cracks as a new way of adapting and changing this world in whichever way they want. So Azeroth waking up doesn't destroy the planet, but it does crack the planet, so to speak. That would be my guess, at least. I think I understand the cracks. What do you think the cracks are, Gringo? a revamp is sorely needed. The cracks are on top of the Nerubian tunnels. That's also possible to signify the Nerubians finally coming out. That is possible. Matthew, the problem is with you saying, be careful not to speak in such an absolute way, because you're suggesting that you know exactly how he appeared to the Eridar. We know that he presented himself as a being of light, but presented does not exclude also looking like a being of light, right? You can present yourself. In other words, you can say, oh, I'm a creature of light, pinky swear, right? Or you could actually appear in the form of a being of light. So the lore isn't specific that they never saw him. He just spoke to them and sort of pretended to be a being of light. We just know that they followed him. And so I wouldn't jump to the idea that, oh, he couldn't change himself into a being of light. He could simply pretend to be one. Because we don't really know. What we do know is they can change their shape. They can change their size. And, I mean, Sargeras literally formed a cloud around Azeroth. He came in the form of a cloud. So that right there is evidence that they can change their bodies at least to some extent. Do they have full power of change? I don't know. Maybe. We don't know, right? That I can't answer. I mean, the first time we seen Titans as Titans, we seen them as these constructs similar to Algalon and the other Consular. True. I mean, that is also something that's been discussed quite a bit. The Consular is considered to be this ancient race of almost protectors. The Titans, of course, tell us that they were the ones who used the Consular to actually protect. But then you see them for the first time and it's like, oh, a bunch of Consular. But of course, they don't say that they are Consular, which may actually be that the Consular come from Xerath Ordis. So, because remember, we don't actually know which planet the Consular actually hail from. And the only sources we have for the Consular really comes from the Titans themselves. So it is entirely possible, if not even like plausible, that the Consular actually come from Xerath Ordis. Because from my perspective, the way the Titan constructs and the Titans' children spoke about Xerath Ordis, I don't think Xerath Ordis is as untouched as Xerath Mortis was. So remember, the Eternal Ones have never set foot inside Xerath Mortis after they left, right? To them, this was sort of like this sacred place that they're not allowed to go to. The way the Titans speak about it, or at least the Titan constructs and children speak about it, I think they've been there. I think they go there often. At least that's my guess. So I think that they could actually be from Xerath Ordis, and they were actually created by the first ones originally, and the Titans sort of co-opted them to start working for them. Ever been stated that the Titans and the Old Gods look like whatever we project onto them? No. But I wouldn't rule it out, right? I wouldn't rule out that our perception of what they look like could play a specific role. Although it would be difficult, because what you're effectively talking about is sort of like almost a mass psychosis event, where everyone on Azeroth sees exactly the same thing, yet the thing they see isn't exactly the thing that it is. That would be very difficult to pull off. No, I think we do see them in whatever way they present themselves as. I just think that the way in which they present themselves isn't necessarily static. They don't, like, at least for the Titans, they don't have to look like the Titans. That's probably stupid, but what if Titans are basically being like Void Lords, but from Order's side of things, and Consular are like World Gods? Well, so Shield Games, the current thinking, at least, is that the Titans and the Void Lords are on par in terms of station and power. So we know that the Old Gods are not as powerful as the Titans. The Old Gods would be closer aligned to beings like Tyr, and the other sort of Titan Titan children, Loken and the like, right? So they're not. I think even then the old gods may actually be slightly stronger than the likes of the. Their name escapes me now. We have a group name for them, but it escapes me right now. But the old gods may be slightly the keepers. Thank you. Yes, the Titan keepers. The old gods seem to be at least slightly stronger than the Titan keepers. So I'm not sure if a Titan keeper would be able to 1v1 an old god. But that could also just be due to the nature of the attack of an old god. So the old god, just the way in which an old god attacks, the fact that it can mind control and basically overwhelm a single keeper means that it would be very dangerous for a single keeper to try and attack an old god. But we know that the old gods are no match for the Titans. I mean, Amonthul just ripped one out of the planet and said, "Peace out, bitch," and then it was over. So clearly the old gods can't stand against the Titans. They do stand there. So the old gods to me read a little like they are the keepers on the side of Void, right? And this would mean that the Void Lords are the Titans on the side of Void. Are we ready for fifth one in War Within and Midnight? Dante, how you doing, bro? So the concept of a fifth old god is one that we've been playing with for literally ever. And then we finally got some confirmation of it in, was it Shadows, not Shadows Rising, the Shadow Brokers, man, now I can't remember, the Shadowlands book, man, the Shadowlands Chronicle book. It's been a long day, guys. I've been awake since 5 a.m., so please cut me some slack. But, in that book, they showed a potential fifth old god. It could have just been art, right? Grimoire of the Shadowlands. I remember now. The Grimoire of the Shadowlands. In the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, there is one page that shows 5 old gods. And it's possible. I wouldn't be so quick to accept that a fifth old god exists. Simply because I think that either a fifth old god, if a fifth old god does indeed exist, doesn't exist anywhere near us. So I kind of, am I going to do this? Am I going to get paint out? Yeah, why not? Man, I hate Windows 11. Not going to lie to you guys. I'm not a huge fan. But all right, let's do paint quickly here. No, wait. So imagine for a second this. Let's do. Imagine this is Azeroth. All right. We'll just do this. Azeroth. Okay, so imagine this is Azeroth, yeah? Now, what I want you to imagine is what we have here. Am I actually going to paint all of this? Might do. Okay, well, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will do the following. So, we have... We're going to have to make this way smaller. Holy shit. So, right here in the center... We have Kalimdor, we have Eastern Kingdoms, right? We have Northrend and the Dragon Isles up here, and we have Pandaria down there. And then obviously we have a bunch of smaller islands scattered around, okay? But this is basically the world as we know it. Now, from our perspective, at least in what we've been told, we cannot really travel outside of this circle. This circle is sort of the extent in this book right here, in the Traveler series, we get the answer. In the Traveler series, there are sailors that try to sail across the other side of Azeroth, and what they figure out relatively quickly is that that cannot be done, because they never actually return. So basically, You go to this side, you die. You go to this side, you die. But why? Why do you die if you try to go here? Well, my previous explanations was something like, what if this is some kind of barrier, right? So there's a barrier here that keeps everyone in. It kind of works, although I'm not a huge fan of the barrier theory, because you start running into a lot of problems of where does this barrier come from, and why does this barrier not stop the demons from arriving on Azeroth, for example? How can we travel through the barrier and stuff of that nature? So it becomes sort of weird, right? Like, how does this barrier actually operate? Well, let's quickly look. What is it? If you were to, say, for example, stand on the eastern shore of Eastern Kingdoms, and you decided to fly east, what would you fly into? Have you ever tried it? Like, just fly off the coast, just fly into the Great Blue. What is that name that pops up as you fly into the Great Blue? Okay, you get fatigued. Okay. You actually don't get an invisible wall. You don't get an invisible wall, but it's the... Sea of Storms. As you go into it, everywhere around Azeroth, you hit the Sea of Storms. Now, we know that the Sea of Storms is pretty dangerous. How do we know this? The dragons themselves will not fly through the Sea of Storms, because even dragons that have attempted to go through the Sea of Storms do not return. Not even dragons return. So you're talking about ships that go on the water cannot return from the Sea of Storms. And now also ships that are on the Sea of Water, ships that are on the water can't return. Dragons that are flying cannot return from the Sea of Storms. So clearly, the Sea of Storms is pretty dangerous, no? It's a pretty dangerous... Well, the Veiled Sea, the Sea of Storm, it's sort of... I would argue just after the Veiled Sea, you hit the Sea of Storms, the Stormy Sea, whichever one you want to, whichever way you want to look at it, right? I would argue that you get the you get the mainland, then you hit the Veiled Sea, and then you hit the Stormy Sea or the Sea of Storms. At least that's my argument, because we don't actually know, right? We don't actually know what happens, because you can't go that far. Fatigue hits you and then you die before you can even get anywhere. Although maybe someone has tried before to see if they could actually run across the whole of Azeroth. I don't know if you could do that. It would take you a long time, because you would basically have to corpse run a lot. But you could try it out, see if there's some breadcrumbs there, if you want to. Now, the way I look at it, because the names here aren't really super important. We don't have to get hung up on, is it called the Veiled Sea? Is it called to this? Is it called to that? The one thing we do need to understand is that this place doesn't appear to share the order that we have within our circle. So inside this yellow circle, things are ordered. It rains sometimes, but not all the time. There are storms sometimes, but not all the time. There are waves, but the waves aren't super big, not all the time. Sometimes during a storm, but not all the time. There are good days, there are bad days. There's a balance to our little area. Our little slice of Azeroth appears to be in balance with one another, or with everything. The second you leave this aura of influence, it appears as if all of that order disappears and chaos increases. There is a marked change in terms of chaotic energy outside of this barrier. Now, from my perspective, the way that I look at this story, and we sort of discussed it a little bit last week already, I think that's what the Titans did here. I think the Titans spent most of their time on Azeroth building and constructing this barrier. Now, if there is such a thing as a sixth old god, I would argue we would likely see that old god somewhere here, outside of this barrier. Perhaps near the lands of Avaloran, perhaps near the Kingdom of Light. Remember, we still don't actually know where this Kingdom of Light is founded, but perhaps that old god is there. And perhaps the reason why everything is so incredibly chaotic outside of this natural little barrier of ours, well, I say natural, I mean natural. Perhaps the reason everything is so calm inside here is because the Titans had the ability to chain the old gods that were inside this little bubble. But the old god that was outside of this bubble was so strong and so immense that not even the Titans could chain this old god. And so the Titans just said, fuck it. We build a barrier around this world of ours. Remember, Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Stars, before the Sundering and before the Great Sundering, one continent. The barrier is around this one continent. That old god that is on the outside of the circle, right, can't get in. The old gods that are inside the circle are chained, and therefore their corruption, their chaos, is under control, so to speak. So now the question, remember, I'm operating under the if there is a sixth old god. That's where I think we'll find that sixth old god. I don't think that is the sixth old god, though. I think the sixth old god may have been killed, either absorbed by one of the other old gods, or perhaps more. I'll tell you guys what bothers me about the Titans story. Why there's so many holes in what the Titans originally told us. So, how many of you read the Chronicles, chat? How many of you here know what is in the Chronicles? Like, it's happened, right? But I'm not entirely. I can't remember how far he went or where he went, because we know also that, for example, the green dragon that left never returned, and they don't even know if that green dragon is even alive still. So we'd have to, like, where did he go? How far did he go? Because we don't know what's going on outside of our own sphere of influence. Propaganda is what's in the Chronicles. Well, it doesn't really matter about the propaganda bit of it. The Chronicles start with the Titans saying that they came to Azeroth and they found this continent, one of the larger continents on Azeroth. And they named this continent Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Stars. Right? That was the name given to this continent. Funnily enough, though, this one continent, this, and not even the largest, just want to be clear, the Chronicles doesn't state that this is the largest continent, just that this is one of the larger continents. How is it that this one continent contains 4 of the 5 old gods on Azeroth? Actually, 5 of the 5, if you know. How? Can anyone explain that to me? Of this whole giant fucking planet, right, that exists, or of all the places that they could land, all the places that they could go, they only manifest and control this one continent of Azeroth. Why? Because now we have to back. And what I'm trying to do here is explain to you how completely full of shit the Chronicles is, by the way, alongside trying to make a greater point about the old gods. The Chronicles tells us that the old gods arrived on Azeroth by being flung out into the universe by the Void Lords. Right? That's how they got here. If they were flung out into the Great Beyond by the Void Lords, they would have had no control over where they land. And yet you're telling me, and they don't, because we know the Titans say that some of them landed on planets that had no old gods or world soul, and others landed on planets with world souls. So clearly they didn't have control over where they landed, according to the Titans. And yet, these 4 or 5 old gods land slap bang where they're supposed to land? Like on Kalimdor, of all places, land of eternal stars? All of them, just on this one continent. Make that make sense. The statistical likelihood of that happening is nigh impossible. It's bullshit, is what it is. Something transpired there. The old gods are not what they seem. Either that, or the Titans moved these old gods. They physically took the old gods from where they were and moved them to Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Stars. Right? For some reason. Maybe Amanthul really liked what the old gods looked like. Maybe one of them offered blowjobs. I don't know. But something clearly happened because it makes no sense. They shouldn't be on the same. There are so many continents on Azeroth, and yet they all landed on this one? Nah, bullshit. No shot. Absolutely no shot. It was bigger before it split. You mean I'm aware. I'm well aware. But it wasn't the only continent on Azeroth. In fact, it wasn't even described as the largest continent on Azeroth, just one of the bigger continents on Azeroth. So clearly there are other continents that are either as big or bigger than Kalimdor, Land of Eternal Stars, and yet all of the old gods just landed on this one. No. I retain my theory that the old gods, all being based on organs, are physical manifestations of the planet's body parts attempting to escape the shell. Vengeance, so I've gone through that theory a number of times. The idea that the old gods are in fact the children of Azeroth. The one part of that theory that really breaks down is the old gods themselves talk about worshipping the void, right? And about the master's return. So the problem there is, how did they start worshipping the masters? Now, I have a video about this where I explain some of the possible ways in which they could have started worshipping the masters. But even then, that doesn't really explain it, right? Not really. It's very loose in terms of connection, I would say. If they came on something like Meteor or some Void missiles, that would logically land only on one continent. Peter, but then why do some of them hit planets that have no world soul? If they only want planets that have world souls, because remember, according to the Titans, the old gods are sent to planets to try and corrupt nascent world souls. So if they have guided missiles or guided comets or anything of that nature, then why do some of them hit? It's just, the statistical likelihood of this happening just seems highly unlikely to me. Dante, I mean, okay, so you bring up a very interesting point here. I was literally busy debating with one of the viewers in the comment section on one of my videos just before the stream started, God of War. Big shout out to you, bro. About the nature of the void. And specifically, if we're going to talk about the philosophical nature of good versus evil within World of Warcraft. So I'll ask a question to you guys in chat. How many of you here, and by show of writing the number 1, how many of you believe that the void is evil? Like, inherently evil. The void is just evil. Seed pod that breaks up before reaching the atmosphere? It's possible. Okay, so there's a 0. Say 1 for yes and 0 for no. Let's do that. All right, so I like my chat. I have a fucking based chat. Most of the people in my chat's like, nah, fam, bring on the Void Mommy. I think some of you are just saying that because you really like Xalatath. But I'm going to pretend like Xalatath has nothing to do with the fact that you guys don't think the Void is evil. And instead, you really just believe the Void isn't evil. All right? You see, God of War believes that the Void is inherently evil. And that the Void is only evil. I think it would be intelligent of us, or not intelligent really, it would be smart of us not to ascribe absolutes to the cosmic universe of World of Warcraft. The problem with applying absolutes, so for example, saying this one's good, this one's evil, it first and foremost, just from a pure storytelling perspective, I think it really limits the way in which a story can be told. Not only that, but the great George R.R. Martin himself said that the last person, he was asked in an interview why he doesn't write good versus bad stories. Like why all of these bad guys are nuanced in a way, right? So it's not just a pure bad guy. It's more like it's more like there's some good, also some bad. It's more like morally gray characters that he writes. And George R.R. Martin said, the last author that was able to write a pure good versus bad story and write it well, to the point that it doesn't just come across as a Disney, like the shit that you would see on Disney Plus, right? The bog standard, almost played out malarkey that comes from modern day writers and good versus bad nonsense, was Tolkien. That was the last writer, according to George R.R. Martin, that actually managed to write good versus bad in pure form, right? So this is good, this is bad, 100%, there you go. All other writers, for lack of a better term, fuck it up. And the reason for it is, it's very difficult to write a character that is pure evil and not fall into the trap of almost making the character petty. Right? So the character almost comes across as petty and sort of childlike in their evil, so to speak. So I think World of Warcraft would almost set itself up for failure if it tried to write a story of pure good versus pure evil, because the level of character progression and character growth that you have to show in order to make that work. Tolkien wrote books, right? Even countless unfinished books on his universe in order to try and explain the good and the bad nature of characters in his universe. World of Warcraft expansions just don't have that amount of storytelling in them. They don't have that much time because most players don't engage with the story in that way. So I think from a pure writing perspective, that would be a disaster. But then also, when I look at the cosmic forces, I don't see good versus evil. I just don't. And Matthew, this is not a religious podcast, so I'll just brush over it, but that's absolutely wrong. He is just pure good. But never mind that. If you want to discuss that, we can do that on Twitch some other day. Good versus bad only works when everything in existence is at stake. For example, Thanos. Thanos was a good example of a great bad guy, right? But even there, I would say he wasn't written as a pure bad guy. He was more morally gray, right? Bad guy would be Sauron in Lord of the Rings. Just pure evil. But the way it's written, it's very difficult to write. Anyways, let's move on. I just wanted to share that. The way I look at the cosmic forces is more... Each of the cosmic forces have a goal, right? They have a place that they want to go to. They have a thing that they want to achieve. And in trying to achieve the thing, they don't keep us as the mortals in mind for achieving the thing. Right? They don't give a fuck about achieving the thing with our help or to keep us safe. They'll help us if we help them, but if we don't help them, they'll just as soon turn against us. They don't really give a shit. Right? Good or bad for us don't matter to them. Someone said in chat just a second ago, good and evil really are human concepts, and I would say very true, right? It's only humans really that put like concepts of good versus evil. I was watching a video earlier today, and I won't go into too much detail because I know there might be some squeamish people in chat, and I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable here. But it's a video of animals, right? And specifically, it's a lion that is feasting, but it's pretty traumatic. Like just watching the video, it's not fun to watch that video. And my first thought watching that video was, man, that is evil as fuck. Like holy shit, because to me that's evil. To that lion, that's lunch. You know, like to the lion, the lion isn't trying to be evil. The lion isn't trying to do anything. The lion's just having lunch, and to it doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't have that concept of good versus evil. It just exists, and in order to exist, it needs to eat, and therefore, you know, whether the thing is alive or dead at the time of eating, who gives a shit, right? To us, we look at that and we go, "Holy shit! That's just a big no-no. Like, what are you doing?" And I think that's similar to the concept of the cosmos. The cosmological forces don't look at the world in good versus evil terms, because to them, these terms are inconsequential. They don't explain what they fucking care, like what they want. For the Void Lords, they want a specific future for the galaxy, and they don't really think about the good of humanity or the good of the orcs while they're looking for this future. They just exist, and they have a thing that they want to do. The same with the Titans. And I think in that, sure, from our perspective, some of them might be evil, some of them might be good, but I would bet money that all of them have the capacity to be evil from our perspective. If we were to turn against the Titans, they would turn on us like this, and we would become cannon fodder for their war. They wouldn't safeguard us if we became an obstacle to them, is basically the point I'm trying to make. So I think trying to ascribe good versus evil to the cosmic forces is just a fool's errand. I think you're trying to do something that doesn't really fit with what the cosmic forces are. Evil is malicious selfishness, hurting others to help yourself and not making any effort to help the community. Dean Murray, but then you can also do evil even in the quest to try and help the community, right? So evil is a very difficult thing to do, to sort of, I think, ascribe, right? It's a difficult thing to, because oftentimes you can either get abject evil, insofar as we can look at the Nazis and go, fuck evil, right? But then you can get evil where it's not necessarily as obvious as quickly that what transpired there was evil, or that the originators of this thing wanted things to necessarily be evil, right? And it takes a while of having to look at what exactly is the outcome of the stuff that you're doing to go, oh, that was really evil, what you just did there. So evil can either be objectively just look at the consequences of what's happening, or look at what the guy wants to do and go, yep, that's evil. Or sometimes it's a lot harder to sort of pinpoint. But I do get your point. Mind State, how you doing, brother? Hitler probably didn't consider himself to be evil. He did what he himself thought was the best way to move forward. Well, the problem, of course, is that outside, if we don't have a universal concept of good, then you don't really have a universal concept of evil, right? So, but that's a whole philosophical discussion that could literally go on for hours. of trying to figure out. And that's not why we're here. But we could, if you wanted to, we could have that conversation on Twitch. But yeah, you are correct. No one ever views themselves as evil until, it's usually us that go, ooh, quite evil that. Gravity's an evil until you are falling from a great height. True. Been a long time. Ready to go back to Zinazari and Midnight? Yeah, of course. Also a bit of a touchy subject. I mean, to me, discussing Hitler isn't a touchy subject. He lost. We won. Fuck him. I don't give a fuck. I don't know why that's a touchy subject. Like, Pete's dead. It's all good. I don't see why that would matter even. Morality itself is very subjective. It stems from belief and religion, which by definition is based on beliefs. Everything is based on beliefs, though. No one does anything not based on belief. So, yeah, belief is literally the only thing we have. Hurricanes are not evil, no matter the destruction they bring. The cosmic forces are hurricanes, and our view on their morality is coincidental. True. And without derailing the stream, I'm so damn excited for you to get far enough in Elden Ring to bring thinking about the lore and stories in it. Vengeance, we will get there. Dante, okay, I got a question, Aklon. What do you think, how many actual players at table we will have in Midnight and Lost Titan? Of course, I reference to villains and characters they didn't promote and will be saved. Okay. Are you talking about specific characters that you think will be at the table? So will actually be playing a big role? That's a really difficult one because from my read on where the story is going, it looks like Blizzard is trying to create a bunch of new heroes. It looks like Blizzard is in some ways retiring some of the old heroes and trying to instead promote new heroes into the conversation. Some of the heroes have been more hit, and some of the heroes have been a little bit more miss. But luckily, it's been early enough to where I don't think it matters as much. I think there's more than enough time for these characters to still come into their own and eventually become good heroes if Blizzard handles it correctly. Because I think for these characters, one of the key things that I think failed for Princess Talanji, for example, even though there are some people that really like Princess Talanji, I think overwhelmingly people would go like, no one hates Princess Talanji, but no one really loves Princess Talanji. She's just sort of there. And one of, I think, the key reasons why she is just sort of there is she was never really introduced to us alongside a beloved hero. In Battle for Azeroth, the story really was about Sylvanas, and Sylvanas really took center stage in that expansion. And I think Talanji really suffered from this lack of having a beloved character taking her and sort of introducing us to her. I think Talia Fordragon, exactly the same thing. They tried to put Talia at the forefront in Shadowlands. The problem is they pitted her with Kalia Menethil, who is a character that no one gives a shit about, right? There's no one that cares about Kalia Menethil, and yet Kalia Menethil and Talia Fordragon are sort of like the you're supposed to learn about Talia through this, and the both of them just end up sounding dickish because they keep forcing Bolvar to do things that can clearly put him in danger and can kill him. So they ended up looking really bad throughout the whole of that expansion. So I think there's been some hits and there's been some misses with new characters being introduced, but I think that we're gonna see a lot more of that. So for example, if we go to the new, how many of you rate the new short story? Please tell me you guys rate the new short story. Mal, you and I both, bro. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Not yet. With one, you mean new? Yes. So I read it. If you don't want to read it yourself, you can go watch it. It's on the channel. And fuck you if you don't hit like on that video. It took me over 3 hours to fucking record that video. So I would like a like on that video. That shit, I I almost lost my voice by the end of that video. That was a long one, and speaking like an orc, doing the whole time, that was hard. Like, that took a lot out of me. So please, if you are gonna watch my version of it, just hit the like button at least. But yeah, so my reading of it is on there. Plug. But yeah, the Thrall one. Dude, I loved that short story. And I've loved all of the short stories for various reasons, but the one I love, or the reason I love the short stories, this is perhaps one of the greatest ways of doing something that I've been begging Blizzard to do for the longest fucking time, bro. And that is to pay attention to the cultures of the races of World of Warcraft. For such a long time, the only real cultural values that we would get from the races of WoW would be in war, right? And the way in which they engaged in war. And while that's super fun, that always left a little bit to the imagination, right? Like, there's a lot of how do they act? How do they raise their children? What does marriage look like? Things of this nature, right? That you just don't have answers for. And in every single one of these short stories, the short stories focus on the culture stuff. Right? Like, there's a lot of culture that's being given in these shorts, and it's phenomenal. But the Thrall one specifically really puts Durak, Thrall's son, now almost a grown-up. He's almost definitely going to be a hero that will be introduced over the course of the next few expansions. I can definitely see that is going to happen. Epic Cthulhu, yes, this is literally the example of cultural representation done perfectly. Brickle J, how you doing? I like the peeks into daily life they give, Brickle, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Those little peeks into daily life, into how orcs raise their children. These are things from which you can extrapolate cultures, right? Because the way in which people raise their kids is a pretty good indication of what that culture is like and what you can expect from cultures like that. So I really enjoy the more cultural sort of richness of these short stories. But in this specific short story, and again, go watch it. It's really good. I think my reading was pretty good of this. I did fuck up a little on the recording side of things, but hopefully you won't notice that. But yeah, it was really fun. It was really, really good. And there you have Durak, Thrall's son, that comes very much to the forefront. But you also have Thrall's daughter. Her name escapes me now. Pretty sexist of me. In 2024, I don't remember the girl's name, but, fuck it, she's young. I can't remember her name. But she also came quite a bit to the fore, really being set up as a character that won't immediately feature, but will eventually feature. So I think Rezi, that's the one, but I can't remember her full name. But yeah, Rezi is what everyone calls her, and then she does have a full name. He uses it once. I'm shit with names, Elodie. This is true. I've been going, just to give you guys an example, I've been at the same church group, Bible study group now, for about 2 months. Almost 2 months now. Every single Wednesday, I go to Bible study. It's always the same people at Bible study. I know, and I talk to everyone. I'm very friendly, so I like talking to people, and just I talk to everyone, and everyone knows my name there. I only know 3 people's names there. I know everyone else. Like, I know their stories, I know their lives. I can tell you what they do, what they've done, what happened in their life, but their names are like, fuck it, I have no idea. I'll stand there, I'll talk to someone, and they'll be like, yeah, so-and-so just did this thing. And I'll be like, who? They'll be like, that one. I'm like, oh, yes. Oh, okay, cool. That's cool. Awesome. I'm shit with names. Like, really bad with names. I'll remember the story, but I don't remember the names. I'm really bad with them. Epic Cthulhu, I'll have you know, I'm a very friendly person. I am actually a very friendly person. I can be a dick. That's true. But also, a lot of the time, I think people misunderstand me. I can be very straightforward. Right? So I'll say something that sounds very, very mean. But I don't necessarily mean it as mean. Right? It's just, I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to say something in such a way that I don't hurt your feelings. I'm just going to say it. And then if your feelings are hurt, I'll go, oops. You know, if I feel like I was a bit harsh and I could probably have been a little bit less harsh, or if I feel you're just being a pussy, I'll just be like, stop being a pussy. A psychological condition where you can't remember names but do remember personality and faces. Well, I have that psychological condition. I have that. I'm sure. I mean, Akko puts up with me, and I tend to be a bit spammy, and it's that annoying. I don't find it annoying. I'm also really bad at replying to people. I, at this moment, have about 20 DMs from people that are unanswered. That I'm not ignoring. I am going to answer them. I just haven't yet. I'm just shit at shit like this. I have to spend like a day repeating new people's names in my head before they stay. I don't care enough about that. I don't care enough to repeat their name for a day. Like, holy shit, that's way too much. I'm aware, man. I mean, just on my end, I worry it comes off wrong. No, Moni. Again, this is where my directness comes in. If I ever find you annoying, I will tell you, bro, you're starting to annoy me now. And then I'll just accept that you'll understand that I'm saying this to you so that you can stop rather than continue to the point where I go, dude, stop talking to me. Never talk to me again. Right? Because if I tell you, oi, you're starting to become annoying, that's me saying, just calm the fuck down. I won't hold a grudge, but I need you to calm down. If you don't calm down, then I will just go, dude, go suck my dick. Leave me alone. Never talk to me again. So, yeah, don't worry. I will tell you if you get annoying to me. But where were we now? Before we started talking about real life stuff. We were talking about lore. What were we talking about in the lore? Fuck it. I have something that I want to share with you guys. Do you guys remember Ozamat? Oh, yeah. Thrall and his son. All I wanted to say really on that, I'm kind of already finished with that, but all I wanted to say really was I think that Thrall and his son could be a really big character sort of duo in the upcoming expansions. As for other heroes, I think I have a feeling we're going to see the third Windrunner sister, Verisa, at some point play a pretty big role. Because we had Sylvanas, we had Illyria. Verisa is the only one that doesn't have any play at the moment. So I think we may see Verisa come into the story as well. Anduin is going to take a big part and a big role in this upcoming expansion, but I think Anduin's real exposure, or the real expansion where Anduin is going to take front and center, is actually going to be the next saga. I don't know why. I have this feeling in my bones that the next saga takes us to the Empire, and at the Empire, it's gonna be Anduin. Right? It's going to be all about Anduin, Turallion. Most likely Arator is going to play a massive part. He's going to step up in the coming expansion. You could read in the short story as well. Arator is going to play a major part in the upcoming expansion. We can disagree on what exactly he's going to be doing. But yeah, I hope that answers your question at least to some. As for other names, I have no idea. Right? Blizzard could literally come out of nowhere and just invent a bunch of new characters. I really don't know. I would be surprised if Sylvanas doesn't come back, but I think even if Sylvanas comes back, I don't think Sylvanas is coming back as like a major character, not anytime soon. Look, guys, we have to be fair and honest about one thing. Denuser kind of took Sylvanas and then rode her dry. And I don't know how else to put that. Yes, it's sexual. Yes, it's vile, but it's the truth. He took Sylvanas and he rode her to fuck. There is nothing left of that character. The overwhelming majority of the player base does not care for this character and does not want to see this character. you still have people actively wanting this character to be dead. And that's because of bad writing, not because of the character necessarily being bad. It's just bad writing. It's using the character so much, so often, and for such a prolonged period of time. And then also, let's be real, kind of turning the character into a Mary Stu, or a Mary Sue, until such time that she wasn't, and then she just turned out to be a complete joke. I think just left a lot of people with sort of like this, no. So I do think Sylvanas needs more time. I think if you're going to bring Sylvanas back, it's fine. Bring her back as a minor character in Midnight. Let her maybe be a quest giver and maybe be in some of the cinematics. But Sylvanas should not play another lead role in World of Warcraft. To my mind, at least not at all in the coming saga. Maybe the saga after this, we can start looking into it. But for now, I would say don't go too close to her. And this comes from someone who, I love Sylvanas. As a character, I'm not one of those people that thinks Sylvanas is just bone dry, can't be fucking included in the story anymore. I actually love Sylvanas. But I know from at least anecdotal evidence that a lot of people do not like Sylvanas. Big Money Joe, how you doing, bro? Bro, she needs to save Illyria from Xalatath. Maybe. I mean, I loved all the cinematics with Sylvanas and Anduin, but why she had to talk at the end with damn Uther and Jaina there? Yeah, well, let's not go back into those discussions. We've had those discussions many, many times on this channel. Why do I think the new Black Cripple Girl Euro will eventually turn out to be an evil character? Oh, you're talking about Faerun, Nameless. She's cool, though. I don't think she'll be evil. The thing is, so Faerun, one of the Arathians, her time in Hallowfall has really changed her perspective. She no longer holds as true the xenophobia of the Empire. And so I don't think she's going to be an enemy. I think she might be one of those good guys turn bad guy, turn good guy again. So what I mean by that is, I think initially she might turn against us when the Empire decides we are criminals and enemies. But then she'll see the light and she'll realize, wait, this is wrong. I fought alongside them. I know their hearts. I know that they're not these evil people. And then she will almost definitely come back. She's a cool character. She really is. She's a kind of person. She's a kind person, unlike what they've shown in the cinematic. I think she's going to be a mother figure for Anduin or a mentor. How important will be Tyrallion in Midnight? More and more Illyria taps into the void, more he will be upset about it. You see, I don't think Midnight is when we need to worry about Tyrallion. I mean, we've spoken about this last week, boys. You have the Empire, which is a literal ripoff of Warhammer 40k. Fuck me. It's just everything they're talking about, everything they do. It sounds so Warhammer 40k, right? Their leader is literally called the Emperor. God, they play a game with minis that is pretty much Warhammer 40k game. So it seems like the Empire is very much modeled on the Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k. And if I'm correct about this, you've never met an enemy like these guys. You think you know cruel, you think you know evil, you think you know xenophobic zealots. You've seen nothing. Imagine Scarlet Crusade times 20. I just made a new video, and I won't say too much because the video is already up on the channel. It will probably launch tomorrow night, where I sort of drop a bunch of hints about where that story could be going. I will say though, if you've been wondering about the Scarlet Crusade, the last time we saw the Scarlet Crusade, they were portaling into the battle. from somewhere. Where do you think they came from? I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to give stuff away from the video. You'll have to watch that video and also support me there. But yeah. Are the Scarlets claiming they have an heir to the throne? There were writings that came out that they claimed that they had the heir to the throne of Lordaeron and that it was a she. Everyone sort of assumed that it would be Arthur's sister that they had with them. And it is entirely possible that Kalia Menethil could still turn out to be a Scarlet Crusader. It's possible that could actually happen. Because what's interesting, or what needs to be thought about when it comes to the Scarlet Crusade, is the Scarlet Crusade starts relatively noble, actually. So the start of the Scarlet, and I made a video about this a few months ago, actually, about the Scarlet Crusade, their history, and everything to do with the Scarlet Crusade. But it basically starts off as an incredibly noble organization. It believes that the Alliance isn't ready to deal with the undead threat, and as such, it finds soldiers, really capable soldiers and people that are willing to do whatever it takes to rid Azeroth of the threat of the Lich King. And then, of course, it gets invaded, infiltrated by the Nathrazim. The Nathrazim then twist this organization and turn this organization into even bigger zealots and xenophobes than what they used to be. So it used to be that the Scarlet Crusade despised all undead and were cautious about non-humans. They didn't outright hate non-humans, but they were cautious. They weren't entirely sure that any of the other races on Azeroth actually cared about the well-being of humans, and they were very much adherents of the light. Then the Nathrazim twists this organization into a hyper-xenophobic, very almost evil organization. But the Nathrazim has been dealt with, and now you have basically Whitemane and others trying to rebuild. I think we killed Sally Whitemane. But the current leadership are trying to rebuild the organization in as best a way they can. And it is possible that they've lost the quote-unquote evil side of themselves, but they've retained the xenophobic side. And they would absolutely have a phenomenal rapport with the Empire. They would have a phenomenal rapport with the Empire. Yeah, Whitemane is one of the Four Horsemen now. You're right. We killed her. I'm trying to remember the leader's name of the Scarlet Crusade, the current leader. But the name's escaping me now. It'll come to me. It'll fucking come to me, like all other names. Then Scarlet Crusade start as the same group. What do you mean? Start as what group? Is it a Bendis? Wasn't Abendus one of the original? Yeah, he's one of the guys who first started it. Abendus. He started it. The current leader. Yeah, see, the reason I think Kalia may be involved with them, just FYI, is it says here as well. The Scarlet Crusade at the end of the Fourth War declared themselves to be loyalists of House Menethil. So they are very much... They have a vested interest in Kalia Menethil. There could be some real twists and turns there. Just FYI. I'm not going to scan through all of this. You saw her in the Forsaken questline. In the Forsaken questline, their leader shows up, or at least what looks to be their leader. Forsyth. That's the one. Forsyth. Commander Forsyth. From what I understand, she's the highest up that we know of right now. Scarlet Commander Forsyth. But it is possible that there's far more, right? And that she isn't the highest up. She's just, the latest one that we've seen. And that they are actually part of the Empire now. Thought he was just leading those forces. TJ, that's why I said he's the highest one up that we know of at the moment. Remember, we thought that the Scarlet Crusade was all but done. Right? All of the lore, all of the rumors, everything we know about the Scarlet Crusade is that they're done. They were rightly defeated and basically pushed into extinction. We thought that there were a few stragglers left that had to be rounded up. And then suddenly those portals open up and you see streams of Scarlet Crusaders showing up from somewhere. Where? There's something key that needs to be thought about here. You have SI7 and the Death Guard scouring Azeroth day and night looking for any information as it pertains to threats on Azeroth. And somehow SI7 and the spies of the Horde completely miss an entire fucking army of light. They just miss them. Don't see an entire army of light fucked individuals running around trying to invade and destroy everything on Azeroth. You have Rathian spies everywhere. The Black Talons are also everywhere. And you're telling me all three of these spy groups just never even see them? The only way that's possible is if they're not even on Azeroth to begin with. But I go into a lot more detail in the actual video on this. Noble's video as he spoke about Anduin and meeting one of them, something what it was. Beast of Sweden, so yes. Anduin spoke to Faerun, who's one of the Arathians. And Faerun told him about the Empire. I made a video about this. About their entire conversation, what they say and what we can take from it. To be fair, SA7 aren't the brightest tools in the shed, considering incidents like in Exia. Vengeance, true, but you have 3 spy groups basically frantically looking for evidence somewhere of any threat, and specifically the Horde spies would be hyper-focused on Scarlet Crusade because it's one of their main enemies. And yeah, they couldn't see them. And then you have the portals. Why the portals? If they were on Eastern Kingdoms, they would have shown up on horseback. How did they get through with all those portals? They are with the Empire. Guaranteed. When we finally fight the Empire, we're going to be fighting the fucking Scarlet Crusade. I guarantee you, the Scarlet Crusade discovered the Empire through their connection to the light. And, yeah, they have been preparing the Empire. They have been whispering sweet little nothings into the Empire's ear about the disgusting, filthy races of Azeroth. And how the humans are in bed with the orcs and all the filthy undead Forsaken. So the Empire is going to meet us and they are going to hate everything about us. All the plate armor look scarletish. If only we know about someone who sends forces of the light through portals opened by mages they send first. So this is where I can't speak to all of that because I don't know what's going to happen there, but this is where I think Turalian's going to really feature, is in that expansion. Either as joining the Empire, which I don't know if he will, but that could happen depending on what happens to Illyria, or as being one of the guys that actually fights back. That would be a nice twist to that story. I bet you the Emperor is like a Lightforged Lich King. Possible. My vote is they discovered the Light, Naru, and those fuckers been keeping them as resources for the big Light versus Void battle Zero was talking about. Vengeance, so another interesting little bit of information for all of you. We all like whispers here, right? How do you guys feel about whispers? We like whispers, no? They're setting him up. I think so too. I think Turalian and Illyria is going to have a lover's death, which is basically a Romeo and Juliet both die. You guys love whispers. So I have some new whispers for you. Some brand new whispers for all of you. These are particularly interesting because it would appear, but I'm frustrated by these damn whispers. Brickle J, I feel you. The peculiar fish is back. I don't know if you guys saw this. Lauren, what are these Scarlet Crusade Portal cinematics from? Lauren, did you do the Forsaken questline? The Forsaken Heritage questline? Because it's the final battle of that questline. It's a pretty good questline. But in the final battle, you see the Scarlet Crusade arriving with these fucking portals. There should be... I made a video on it, actually. I think I made a video of my playthrough of it. You should be able to find it. But yeah, that's where the light portals come from. The fish like from Azara story. So yes, this peculiar fish. So this fish shows up in Hallowfall. You pick it up, and then it starts a quest line for you. The fish, of course. And then you find out that actually the fish isn't just a fish. The fish actually belongs to this fucker. Ozumot, the patriarch of all Kraken. The fish is a Kraken, just about. It's a baby Kraken, basically. It's why it's called a peculiar fish. Leviathan or Kraken, either one is good. But you set off on a bit of a quest chain with this peculiar little fish. And here are some of the whispers. Just listen to this. It's pretty good. They are gone, but their blood remains. The blood remembers. Swim in these dark waters and be changed by them. No light shines in these depths. Dark blood rains from the false sky. It tastes of wars past and wars to come. This is an Abyss Whisperer. Every single time you do this quest for a peculiar fish, and every single time you catch one of these monstrosities in a trap, this whisper, this voice from the deep comes at you, right? And it says these following lines to you. What I found very interesting about the lines, but their blood, they are gone, but their blood remains. It talks about the old gods, right? The blood remembers. Now, this I found ridiculously interesting. We think of the old gods as dead. Like we should. We killed them. We literally killed them. But if you think about what old gods are, and if we go back and we look at even, for example, Yisaraj, who was ripped out of the planet, his heart alone had the ability to corrupt an entire land. Right? That is how much corruption exists within these creatures. So their blood remaining is like incredible. But then the blood remembering is even bigger. It suggests that it gives us insight into how the void relays information. So the blood remembering means that should the Void Lords arrive on Azeroth, they will touch the blood of their children and they will instantly know everything that happened here. They will instantly know our tactics and how we fight and everything of that nature. And then, of course, it speaks about the Dark Waters, and it suggests that the waters there are still corrupted. So even though the old gods are dead, the waters itself is filled with the blood of the old gods. Now, from our measurements, the only old god's blood that could potentially be anywhere near Hallowfall would be that of Cthulhu. Because all of the other old gods were way too far away to be anywhere near Hallowfall. So it has to be something to do with Cthulhu's blood specifically. I would say, Jordan, that's a good way of putting it. The blood almost acts like a scryer stone. So the blood remembers everything that had happened. That sort of makes you wonder about Saronite and the fact that we keep using the Saronite, to bullshit. And you start thinking, shit. Probably not the best idea to be using this blood, for your own shit, but whatever. It could, Lazarus, that's entirely possible. That it could be the blood of the fifth old god. The problem with that would be the fifth old god is not revealed, right? So where would that blood have come from? So the one from the mural, to me at least, looks like N'Zoth, because N'Zoth is considered to be the god of the deep. Every single one of the old gods have their own look, so to speak. Why would the fifth old god look almost exactly like N'Zoth? But this is why I brought up the location of Hallowfall and the blood only really being capable of referring to Cthulhu because of the location of Hallowfall. The problem is the mural shows N'Zoth. So this is where a real issue starts to emerge to us. N'Zoth, from what we could tell at least, wasn't anywhere near Hallowfall. And yet they have murals of N'Zoth. And clearly the Nerubians worshipped N'Zoth. But then, how is N'Zoth's blood in the waters of Hallowfall? And the false sky, someone asked about the false sky. Remember, Hallowfall doesn't have a skyline, not a real skyline. Hallowfall is just a giant cave. So they're referring to the false sky as in the cave roof being the false sky, and dark blood rains from the false sky, suggesting that when we killed the old gods, their blood must have filtered through the cave roof and into their waters to make them think, right? Or to make them realize what had transpired up there. Influenced by the blood of the old gods, that definitely falls in line with the story in the past. I think the mural is not N'Zoth, but the tentacle old god from the Time Rift, and was killed by the other four. It's possible, but how do you explain N'Zoth's tentacles? The Time Rift shows a time when it was not killed and took over. The crystal might still be an old god prison, it turning void. So, Lazarus, I don't know if you were here, but I actually think that the fifth old god lies outside of our sphere of influence, or the Titan sphere of influence. But I spoke about that at the beginning of the stream. I used paint to really show what I think. I think there is a fifth old god, but I don't think that old god is dead. In fact, I think that old god was so powerful that the Titans couldn't stop or even imprison that old god. And so the Titans just decided to exclude that old god from their specific slice of heaven. The crystal might still be an old god prison. It turning void might be a sign of the chains weakening. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to the crystal. So the dark blood rains from the false sky. It tastes of wars past and wars to come. Very interesting. So the ability for the void, for the old gods to see the future lies in their blood. Or at least it's an ability that can be passed on through their blood. And then we get to another bit of voices. Another few whispers. The peculiar fish this time whispers to us. And it says to us after we do all of its quests, it says, "Our cooperation is at an end. Now I return to the sea, beneath the sea, away from this accursed star. Bring its light to our depths, and we shall be your crushing end." What star do you guys think they're referring to? Could it be the thing that is stuck in the roof of the cave? Because it would appear as if these Kraken Leviathans view that crystal as a star, not as a crystal. Now, before anyone thinks the sea beneath the sea means something, Hallowfall has its own sea, but Hallowfall is a cave. Therefore, that would be a sea beneath the sea. Because it's a separate sea, sort of like, dude, I don't know how exactly the mechanics of this cave system works, because it looks fucking gigantic, and yet it's under the ocean of Azeroth, and yet still so like where do you get the space? Where do you get the space? How does this even work? No one knows. It is what it is. It would have to be in the cave because it's never seen above ground. Yeah, it only ever talks about Hallowfall, right? And the things that happened within Hallowfall. Hollow Azeroth could be a possibility. And then the fish ends by saying, "Let us not meet again. The thought of your drowned corpse displeases me." It's kind of a nice thing, if you think about it. For a creature that basically hates humans, this peculiar fish seems to not hate us. Which now makes it almost every single void creature we have ever met didn't hate us. And people still think the void is evil. But every single time we meet a void creature, that void creature does not hate us. It wants to use us. It wants to work with us. It sometimes wants, like this peculiar fish, to avoid us. But none of them wants to kill us or wants to destroy us. Wasn't there a thing that Void at one point stopped seeing as enemies but started seeing us as friends? Ashiel, there was a whisper, I think we spoke about it last week, where it's the whisper was something about we are enemies for now. Something to that effect. It said something like, we are enemies at least for now. But that, I mean, for now suggests that we are not permanent enemies. Right? We are not permanent enemies. Z Vengeance, so I should add, I do reject Cthulhu's voice lines on the basis of this was very early World of Warcraft. And since then, we've had quite a lot of interactions with the Void. And N'Zoth, time and time again, testing us. Not trying to kill us, testing us. Literally, there are bosses that tell us that he's testing us. N'Zoth doesn't seem to be upset about the fact that he dies. Yogg-Saron doesn't seem to be upset about the fact that we kill him. Even Cthulhu doesn't seem to be upset at all that we kill him. So fundamentally, there's enough evidence at least that the Void, Xal'atath, doesn't want to kill us. So there's enough evidence at least to suggest that the Void has a bigger goal, and their goal doesn't necessarily include the end of all mortals, if that makes sense. I wouldn't say he seemed upset about his death. At least not to me. I didn't get the sense that he was too upset. Because I do think that they had to die. I think that death was always the plan for them. Now, of course, I could be completely wrong. Maybe they didn't want to die at all. But maybe Xal'atath was the sort of backup plan if they all died, right? That could definitely be. Mac, by the way, you've been a member of this channel for 39 months. Bro, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that, bro. Thank you. If Illidan comes back, I will come in my pants. Illidan's coming back. Like, you can already start rubbing, fam. Illidan's coming back, absolutely. I can't imagine Illidan not returning in The Last Titan. Look, guys. The Last Titan, we're gonna face off against... The Titans are going to face off against whatever threat is unleashed by Xal'atath. This is spoken for because this is exactly what the Void wants. We know this because Iridikron told us this is what he wants. Everything Iridikron is doing, everything Xal'atath is doing, is meant to coax the Titans towards Azeroth. So that Iridikron, in his mind at least, can kick him in the balls, I guess. Mest, how you doing? What happened on the YouTube stream? Mest, so every Friday is a YouTube stream. It's sort of like an exclusive World of Warcraft lore stream, where we just hang out and nerd out about World of Warcraft lore. What about the water inside every Titan facility that go deep inside the earth? Does it reach Hallowfall Seam? Matthew, that's an interesting question. It's possible. It has to, right? Because Hallowfall seems to be ridiculously large. Right? I mean, it appears to be massive. Illidan, Sark, Sylvanas, etc. are bound to show up during the saga. I agree. Khadgar should get Dementius on a podcast so he can tell his side of the story. At the beginning of BFA, someone said that the Titan prison disappear and Illidan and Sargeras will come back, not BFA DF. Well, I don't know about the Titan prison, if that will actually disappear. I genuinely don't know. But I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna let Sargeras out just yet. Sargeras may show up as the Titans are getting their asses kicked. Like, I can already imagine, like, the Titans are getting their asses handed to them by the Void and by Iridikron. And then as the Titans are on their last breath, they're busy dying. Sargeras rocks up. He's just broken out of his prison. And then he kicks some ass. Because unlike the Titans, he isn't just arcane. He's filled with power of the foul. So he would actually be able to stand his ground against the Void. Like, that could be a super cool cinematic, in my opinion. Sorry, I got out myself. Beer expert, what happened? At the beginning, I expect all old lore characters that are able to show up again by the Lost Titan. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Nerd Jerdico, that is 38 months, part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you. Thank you. You're far too kind. I think that Sargeras will help us out against the Void. I think so too. At least I want to believe that. Because based on my reading of Sargeras' lore, I think Sargeras is wildly misunderstood. I think a lot of people misread what Sargeras was actually up to. But we'll have to wait and see, because anything can happen there. Because this water is full with Titan experiments failed, as we see in Uldir. Yeah. Dude, I still want to know how the hell Hallowfall even came into existence. I wonder... I'm obviously going to be spending the first months of that expansion looking for every clue that I can find inside Hallowfall. But I want to know how this giant cave system even came to be. Where did it come from? why does it exist? Because you guys do realize the possibilities that this opens up now. It means that we can technically never run out of locations on Azeroth to have expansions. Because you can have expansions above ground, right? So on the surface, unlimited, effectively. But then you can also have expansions inside the planet. Because clearly this planet is fucking humongous. The planet is huge, bro. Like, there's a lot going on inside this planet. I don't know if it's a Harry Potter kind of thing. You know, the taints in Harry Potter that looks tiny but is actually massive. I don't know if it's maybe something to that effect. I wonder if we would ever get Sky Zones. It's possible. I mean, you saw Skylands, at least, in the old... oh, what the fuck was that zone called, man? Where Thrall took his family. Come on, man. It's on the old Draenor Outland. Nagrand. Thank you. Yes, fuck my life. You saw in Nagrand, you know, places sort of floating. But it is possible that if you go to other parts of Azeroth, there might be continents with literal continents above it, right? Like entire continents just floating on the, you know, in the sky. It's possible. Anything is possible. Because as I've already explained, I think the Titans with the prisons of the old gods and the engines that they built on Azeroth, they created a sphere of influence that protects the land of eternal stars, Kalimdor, from the corruption of the rest of Azeroth. Now, that corruption could either be natural, so life, when it comes from Azeroth and isn't ordered, is very chaotic, or it could be the result of the fifth old god that was so powerful that not even the Titans could kill this old god, and so they just said, screw it. Who gives a shit? Oh yeah, you're talking about the Alakir's place. Well, imagine Alakir's palace, but imagine an entire zone like Alakir's palace. Vengeance, the problem is Deepholm, yes, it was underground, and yes, it was kind of big, but it was just a cave. Hallowfall isn't just a cave, dude. If you look up in Hallowfall, it looks like you're seeing the fucking sky. Like, the place is huge. And it has an ocean inside of it. So clearly, Hallowfall is... That's crazy. That shit is just nuts. Of course, I would, in real life, never swim in those waters. Ever. You can imagine, first and foremost, those waters would be peasant cold. Because they've never seen the actual sun, right? But then more importantly, the shit that would grow inside an ocean, inside a cave, no thank you. I'm good. Just as I am. I will not be doing that. This is my player housing zone. Mest. Let's hope the Blizzard is cooking player housing. Finance, Deepholm, and wherever Neptune is. We've only seen a small part of their regions. Well, yes, but again, their regions were Titan-made. From what I can tell, at least, Hallowfall doesn't appear to be Titan-made. The Titans were there. You could see their influence through the earthen, at least. But it appears to be more natural. I don't know. The sky of the new spider area is blue black void. Dude, can I just, by a show of hands, how many of you are hyped for the War Within. Just give me a thumbs up if you're hyped, because I am fucking beyond hyped. I am so ready for this next expansion. So ready. Henrik, how you doing, bro? Just joined. What's Barrens Chat? Just lore and chill. Yeah, just lore. Just chatting about lore. Sort of Barrens Chat, what you would expect. You know, people just bring up whatever and we talk about it. It's 2 hours of hanging out. But I'm hyped for every expansion. Lauren, that makes sense. 2 more months. Very hyped. Can't wait. Lore-wise, yeah, gameplay mixed feelings. That's fair. Spider area, what do you mean? Are you talking about the crab area? Oh, Steven, just go fuck yourself, bro. Why do we have Niffins in the War Within? Wait, we have Niffins in the War Within? I hope not. I'm not going to lie to you. The Niffins was the one race that Blizzard made a big deal out of the Niffins, and I couldn't care less. Like, I have never rooted for the enemy faster. Like, when I saw Farak was going to destroy the Niffin village, I was secretly going, woohoo, let's go. I'll help. How do we set fire to this bitch? Like, the Niffin is just not a cool race. Nothing about them was cool. I don't know why Blizzard made such a big deal out of them. They're a cutesy race, but I feel like for races like the Niffin to work, it was always sort of, if you guys remember the Tuanka, is that correct? Or is that the village? It's Tuanka village. What are they called again? The fucking, oh man, what's that race called again, man? The fishing guys that we first met in Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah, is Tonka correct? Okay, never mind. Then it is correct. Sorry, for a second there I thought not the Jinyu. No, the Jinyu is from Mr. Pandaria. No. The Tuskar, that's the one. Tuanka Village, Tuskar is the race's name. But the Tuskar, the key about them was that Blizzard didn't make a big deal out of the Tuskar before we met them. You know, going into Wrath, the big deal was the Lich King. It was, yeah, we're going to fight the fucking Forsaken demon armies. Well, not the demon armies, the dead armies. And then we're going to kill the Lich King. And then we met the Tuskar. And we sort of, everyone just immediately fell in love with these guys. You know? They just, you couldn't help it. You just fell in love with these guys. And I think that's the problem. The Niffin was made a big deal before we even met them. And it's sort of like that expectations versus reality thing. If Blizzard didn't set the expectations so high, people would probably have loved them anyways. But because the expectations were so high, they could never really live up to the expectations. And so they just sort of fell flat. Because we weren't told they were interesting. But that's literally the point, yes. They were never made to be this super cute, super interesting race that we can't wait to learn about. We just discovered them. They were sort of like a throwaway concept almost. And we fell in love with them as a result of that. It's like the Niffin, on the other hand, Blizzard spent so much time trying to make them seem cool that they ended up feeling just a little shit. Z Vengeance, no. I'm saying Tuanka is a village. Tuskar is the people I'm thinking of. If I'm not mistaken, it's Tuanka village, no? I want to see more about the Murlocs, Naga races. I don't think we're going to go to the Murloc Azeroth anytime soon. I'm not even entirely sure. I don't know if Blizzard will ever... Like, Murlocs is also one of those things. Don't overuse them. You know? Don't overuse them. Use them, but don't go too far. I feel like that the cute part of the Murlocs is the fact that we see them very early on quite a lot, but then from there, they're used very sparingly. This all the 10-minute underwater breathing fishing pole. Of course, people like the Tuskar. I want to see more about the Murlocs. They force the mole people on us. Tuanka is the Northern Tauren race. Also could be possible. Yeah. I'm not always clued in on all the races on Azeroth, to be fair. I don't focus a lot on the races of Azeroth, so unless they have like a giant story attachment, maybe then I would just refer to them as the fucking Taurens. Of Tuankala Village, which is a part of the big quest chain with Katie's phylactery. It could be. I genuinely don't know. Like I said, when it comes to the individual races of Azeroth, I've never been too bothered. Like, I don't give a fuck whether or not these elves are exactly the same as it's elves, right? I don't give a shit where they exactly fit in, unless the type of elf that it is super important to the actual story. Like, for example, Nightborn. Them being Nightborn is super important to their story, and therefore I'm fine with that. But for example, the High Mountain Tauren, they're just fucking Tauren. Yeah, they look a little bit different, but their story isn't unique enough to where I'm now going to really give a shit about differentiating between the two. It's just Tauren with bigger horns, basically. Dala, how you doing? I remember doing the... Wait. No, for the Murloc costume place, for the Murloc village in Wrath of the Lich King was cool. I don't even remember that. Akko, did you see the theory about the crystal in Hunnaful being unshare? It has some interesting points. Yes, I've seen it. I don't think that is the crystal, although, as I've just explained to you guys, the Kraken or the Leviathan appear to think that crystal is actually a star. The accursed star, so to speak. So this suggests that at least from their perspective, that crystal did fall from the sky. Right? It's almost certainly from the light because the architecture is, man, like that just looks like it's from the fucking light, right? Very similar to the Draenei ships. And we know that the Draenei ships is very much inspired by the architecture of the light ships. So, or at least the army of the light ships. So, yeah, it's... I just don't know if there's a Naru inside that crystal, or if there's something bigger. Now, if I'm correct, the old gods and the light lords, as it were. So, in other words, whoever is in charge of the light. If I'm correct, the light lords would have a similar limitation in coming to reality as the Void Lords do, insofar as it's very difficult for them to get here. Is it possible, though, that a Light Lord could have been sent inside this vessel from the realms of light into Azeroth and literally sits there and waits? This Light Lord waits for the penultimate battle, as it were. Joan Mones, how you doing, bro? Yes, I do stream on Twitch Mondays to Thursdays most of the time. This week I didn't because I was dealing with real life tiling issues and bullshit. But yeah, mostly Twitch Mondays to Thursdays. How you doing, by the way? Well, the Naru part of the theory was that Ash's world soul fracturing, the pieces scattered, were made Naru with Ilune's help. Anshe's world soul fracturing, the pieces scattered. I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, it's a good theory, but I don't know if that theory, like, what is it backed up by? Thank you, Landron. I fucking knew that there's a Tuanka village or a Tahunka village. I knew that I've seen that village name before. So thank you for that. Fucking chat gaslighting me here. I say Tuanka village and chat's like, no. There's no such thing, bro. Those are Taurens. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm pretty sure that there is a village called Tuanka Village. No. Those are the Taurens, bro. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's like, man, I could have sworn I saw a village like that. But I'm not going to argue because I don't know. I don't really look at the different races of Azeroth that closely. So I was like, well, fuck. I just imagined an entire village in World of Warcraft. But thank you. Thank you for ungaslighting me. I appreciate that. 100%. But the thing is, the Tuanka name is for the race. Yeah. But I mean, I was thinking of the village, right? Because we were talking about the Tuskar, the cutesy race in Wrath of the Lich King. And I initially said the Tuanka, right? And I was like, no, but that doesn't sound right. But you guys know what I'm talking about, the fish people. And then we got to the name, Tuskar. And I was like, that's right. Tuskar is the race. Tuanka is a village. And then someone else in chat said, no, bro. Tuanka is the Tauren. I'm like, mother, what? I remember running in the game and it popping up Tuanka Village. But fuck me then, I guess. We'll just, maybe I saw wrong. Have you seen, wait, Hala? What the fuck? Dimensional structure? Ryan, I don't even know the word that you're trying to write there, bro. It was backed up by a Locust Walker telling Illyria that the people on Koresh heard the exact same Radiant song, which in turn makes it Anshe, being the world soul, which is transferred to Azeroth. So Mind State, the thing there is, yes, the people of Koresh heard the exact same world soul. The issue you would have there is that it has never been confirmed that Koresh had a world soul to begin with. Also, Anshe is considered to be the sun by the Tauren. Now, you could absolutely draw that distinction and say the son of the Tauren, it is the son of Hallowfall. That could have been sort of given to the Tauren by those who knew that it was the sun inside Hallowfall, and then it can be Anshe. I would just argue it sounds rough. Right? It sounds like a theory that I'm not even sure I want Blizzard to reveal who Elune is. I'm fucking convinced I don't want Blizzard to reveal who Anshe is. I feel like we should have at least some mysteries in World of Warcraft. I feel like there are some characters like Elune, like Anshe, that if they remain mysteries, it keeps things a lot more interesting. There's a lot more that you can do with characters like that are just complete mysteries. Because now, if you do run into a problem, you could just say, it was Elune, right? Because no one fucking knows. Whereas the second you reveal these characters, you're shut out of luck. Because now you have to be careful with what you do with these characters. Fish people, was Jinyu? No. Not the fish people. The Jinyu is from Mist of Pandaria. That's perfectly fine. I'm talking about the people who fish. The Tuskar. They're the ones who give you the fishing pole in Wrath of the Lich King. They're the ones that you go to for fishing dailies and shit. Azeroth doesn't look like Void is winning its war for its soul. I don't think anything can win the war for Azeroth's soul because I don't think Azeroth is corruptible in any way, shape, or form. I don't think anything can. I think the old gods arrived, tried to corrupt Azeroth. Eventually, they got played by Azeroth. I think Azeroth is too powerful to be corrupted. Not even by the Titans. I don't think anything can corrupt the Titans. Or Azeroth specifically. Because, coincidentally, I don't believe Azeroth to be a Titan. And I've said this for fucking... What is it now? Probably a year and a half. I've been saying I don't think Azeroth is a Titan. The evidence doesn't... Actually, I've been saying it since Shadowlands. Since the last patch of Shadowlands. I've been saying, based on the information that we have from the brokers, the first ones in the Grimoire of the Shadowlands, Azeroth is not a Titan. She doesn't act like a Titan. She doesn't do anything that you would expect if she was a Titan. So, yeah. That's what they thought about Argus too. So come on, Nat Bagel is a Tuskar trainee. Nat Bagel. Man, that dude has been around the world, hasn't he? Nat Bagel. Why are we talking about Nat Bagel now? Like, what is going on? Not corruption, but trying to win her to their side by manipulating her dreams. Dean, yes. They might be trying to manipulate her, but from where I'm sitting, I don't think that is possible. I don't think you can do that. She really does appear to be completely and utterly immune to any sort of void or order or light corruption of any kind. She appears to be just immune to that shit. I think it's a linguistic issue. People interpreting Titan World Soul as a Titan World Soul rather than Titan World Soul, aka the soul of a world ruled by the Titans. The Vengeance, now that I do like. That I do like. I had to recheck that. Kaskala is Tuskar village in Northrend. Tuankala village is village of Tuanka, aka Torin, sorry. Shield Games, yeah, that's perfectly fine. We have settled that debate now, but as long as we know that I was thinking of the correct village. Looking for fishermen? I'm not looking for fishermen. Like, what the fuck, Glorious? You literally just arrived and you just went, oh, they're naming all of the fishing boys in World of Warcraft. Why would I ever fucking do that? In what universe would I sit here in a live stream and go, all right, boys, so if you guys heard this incredible story about the fishing on Azeroth, and then just start fucking rambling off fishermen on Azeroth's names for chat. That sounds like a wonderful evening. Let's go. There would never be a reason for that in my life. So I don't know why you would even come here and think that that is something that I would do. But anyways, last questions, ladies and gentlemen. 5 minutes. Is there anything else that you guys want to know that I can answer within a minute or so? Before I love and leave you guys. I know, fishing is peaceful. I have no problem with fishing in World of Warcraft. I'm just saying it's not speculation worthy. Although I must say, I do think fishing needs an overhaul in World of Warcraft. I think fishing needs to be brought up to par. But I don't think that fishing isn't terrible. It's just very dated. Is Azeroth a fisher? I don't know if she's a fisher, but she'll probably fish. Although what if Azeroth wakes up and she's a really bad person? Like she's an actual bad guy. What if Azeroth wakes up and we look at Azeroth being awake, and then we run towards the Titans. We're like, sorry, help us. Because Azeroth actually turns out to be the big bad monster. What the fuck then? Because that, I feel, would be a twist that not many players would be expecting. What I feel in my hips. You mean, if she's got big badonkadonks, then fuck it, the Titans can leave. We have our mummy. But if she doesn't have big badonkadonks and she actually looks like a squid, then please help us. Is that what you're saying? Swatter fan, how you doing? Holy shit, it's been an age. How's life been? I like the fishing questline in Legion where you get that cool fishing pole. True. The legendary one. I have that one. That sounds like a Lovecraft twist. That would make sense. Well, yes, Azeroth is based on Azathoth, and in at least Lovecraft's universe, Azathoth is not to be fucked with. Azathoth is a really bad dude. In fact, so bad that even the children of Azathoth don't want Azathoth to wake up. So, you know. Yame, I would have to go look into that. as I say to you, I'm not well versed on like racial lore in World of Warcraft. It's never really been a focus of mine. So unless I'm dealing with a specific theory where I need to know something about the individual races of World of Warcraft, I rarely, if ever, look into it. Even when I'm doing quests about the races, I tend to just fucking do it quickly and be done with it. But I have added it to my notes, so I will go look into it for you. And if there's something to talk about there, I promise I will make that video, and I will talk about it. Draenei look like squids, and we aren't screaming. Yeah, but Draenei have sexy hips. If Draenei women didn't have the hips, we probably would have slaughtered all of them by now. If Azeroth is based on Azathoth, then we'd need to revisit Yogi, since Yog-Sothoth is the gate and the key. Vengeance, although it would depend. Was it inspired by Lovecraft, or is it literally based on Lovecraft? Do we know anything about the planets the other Titans come from, if they did at all? Lauren, now you're starting to ask the right questions. No, we don't. In fact, all we have to suggest that the Titans do indeed come from other planets is them saying they come from other planets. As far as we know, none of them have their own planets. We know of 2 Titans or 2 beings that exist inside planets, Argus and Azeroth. And I don't believe that Argus or Azeroth are the same as the Titans. And the reason I don't believe that is because of the existence of Zereth Ordis. The fact that there is such a thing as a Zereth Ordis realm, the fact that we're told that in the Shadowlands, Oribus is built, or was built by the Titans. It is a Titan city. Suggests, to me at least, that the Titans come from Zereth Ordis. And that would mean that the Titans had a very similar birth as the Eternal Ones in the Shadowlands, meaning they come from Zereth realms. So they're not born inside planets, as they want us to believe. Instead, they were made. They're constructs. But it was helpful and useful for them to pretend to be like Azeroth, because it means that no one will question them, right? Their thinking probably is, if Azeroth believes that they were born the same way that she was, then Azeroth will not destroy them. Ryan, Oribos was never explicitly stated to have been built by the Titans, but during the interviews leading into the Shadowlands, Denuzer, in an interview, said that Oribos is a Titan city. And then Ian said, we don't know what Titan worlds would even look like. We have this Titan city, but Titan worlds could look very much bigger and very different. And that was it, right? Now, unless they're saying a Titan city just meaning big city, I think they were saying that this was built by the Titans. Credit for much they didn't do. This is true, though. The Titans could have arrived there before the fucking Eternal Ones did to Oribos, and just as the Eternal Ones were coming out of the Zereth realm, they sort of pretended to have built this. So they were literally going like, and another one was going like, and the Eternal Ones rocked up and they were like, what's going on? And then Amanthal was like, we built this for you. Congratulations! Even though they arrived and they just saw the city and they didn't know what the fuck it was in the first place. But, you know, now all of the Eternal Ones think, our brothers from Order built us this beautiful city. How nice. So it is possible that the Titans just completely pretended to build the fucking thing. But at least from Steve Denuzer's own words, it is a Titan city. The first one's actually, you think Denathrius answers to someone who hasn't been introduced yet? I mean, no, but I do think the demons now answer to Denathrius. But no, I don't think Denathrius answers to anyone. I think Denathrius was the only Titan from the realms of disorder that accepted the truce. So when the realms of death and the realms of order marched into the Twisting Nether to destroy the pantheon of chaos, Denathrius was the only Lord of Chaos that bent the knee and said, sorry. Basically said parlay. And that's why he was given a seat in the land of the dead, right? Because they do need some chaos. Otherwise, the creation wouldn't operate. It's telling to me that he looks demonic as fuck. I mean, more importantly, we now know, thanks to books that are found in Dragonflight, that the demons have a new master. And it just seems so fucking on the nose. Like, holy shit. How could it not be? By the way, I wonder sometimes if Sargeras isn't from the Twisting Nether either. And that Sargeras was mind controlled by Amanthul in order to not follow the Twisting Nether. And this is why he went back to the Twisting Nether, because he kind of broke free from the control of Amanthul. Ryan, so those prototypes can either be prototypes as in the first ones that were built but kind of flawed, or they can be prototypes as in replacements in case something happens, right? So in case something were to happen to these Eternal Ones, their souls would have another vessel to go to, as it were. But remember, just because some of the Eternal Ones are constructs does not necessarily mean that all of the Eternal Ones are constructs. Because what happened when we killed Denathrius? His soul got absorbed into Ramonia, right? But from what I remember, his body didn't go all statue. Did it? Am I forgetting something? I don't remember Denathrius' body going all statue like Zuval's Nipple Boy. His soul got absorbed into Ramonia, and then of course inside Ramonia he was kept as prisoner until the Nathrezim saved him. But why, when we kill him, does his body not stay behind as a statue? That's what would have happened to Zuval. That is what happened to Zuval. As soon as we killed him, as his soul left his body, the statue stayed behind. Whereas Denathrius, it all gets absorbed into the sword. Why? If that body is just a construct, and his soul is literally just the thing that gives the construct life, then the body doesn't have to be absorbed. Right? The body doesn't have to go into the fucking sword. It's just the soul that would be needed there. So why is he different to Zuval? Ryan, his soul may still be doing something. Remember, we don't know what happened to Zuval's soul. I am of the belief that as we killed Zuval and his soul left his body, Zuval's soul went back into Zereth Mortis, and it's going to be reincarnated, or perhaps they're going to interfere and fundamentally destroy that soul. So those are the two options, effectively. Only arbiters are created from the robots? I don't know about that, though, because you do see constructs for all of them, right? You see prototypes for all of them. And they all referred to Zuval as brother, right? So suggesting that they all came from the same place. Not unit. Yeah, the whole date bullshit. That was Steve the Newser saying, "Oh, when you die in the Shadowlands, you're date," and then no one is date in the Shadowlands. So I don't want to go on that. No, he's date now, because it's sort of like the same as, oh yeah, Azeroth more. No one can escape from what was that realm called again, man? The fucking Howl realm in Shadowlands. Completely blocked it out of my mind now. The Maw. No one can escape the Maw, except for this guy. Okay, maybe this guy. All right, no, the ones with wings can escape the Maw too. Oh, and they're soldiers, and all of the other ones as well. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Anyone can leave the Maw. It's not even that big of a prison. Don't even worry about it. Like, that was literally the progression of the Maw in the Shadowlands. Nothing escapes the Maw. 10 seconds later, we escape the Maw. 5 minutes later, Sylvanas is out of the Maw as well, and a bunch of other fucking Maw creatures are out. And it's like, well, actually, it turns out everyone can get out of the Maw. The Maw isn't really that big of a prison. It's more like a welcoming fucking committee. I've been playing Elden Ring. We've been playing it on stream, John. Is it John or Juan? The Maw is a myth. I would like that. Well, to be fair, the Maw was corrupted and broken, and the guys in Oribos had no idea. That is true, though, Britgo, but not as funny. So we're going to go with mine because it's funnier. Well, for the Maw creatures, it's not an escape. They are allowed to. Probably, although not really. The Maw was supposed to be inescapable, right? That's what they did to it. They broke it so that it would be inescapable. Although we don't quite know. Juan, like in Spanish? Well, I just need to clarify here. Juan, I'm not Spanish, nor do I know many Spanish people, and there's no one that speaks Spanish in South Africa. The two girls that I know that are Spanish that live in South Africa, I've never heard them speak Spanish in South Africa. And the Spanish names in South Africa, like your name, is pronounced John. So your name here would be pronounced John. So yeah. But I've watched enough movies to know that sometimes people from Spain can be called Juan. So that's why I asked. Yeah, I'm from South Africa. Did we ever get an answer for that? Okay, if we talk about Shadowlands, what is the original purpose of Torghast? Oh, fuck me, bro. I think it's a prison for something really, really bad that we never actually got to. My original theory, and I stand by this, is I think there is a Void Lord locked inside Torghast, because Torghast reminds me very much of Tartarus, the prison that ever changes and is basically inescapable. Torghast is that. Now, the only reason you would need a prison like that is for something that is very powerful and that can see the future. And for that reason, it has to change so often that it being able to see the future won't help it. Right? So that's sort of, yeah, that would be my thinking, at least, around it. That's what I've been maintaining since the Shadowlands. Any thoughts about Azara's role when she comes back? True Throne of Power, remember? Yeah, I think the True Throne of Power is on Avaloran, and I don't think we're going to go to Avaloran now, but I do think we're going to visit Avaloran either in Midnight, or maybe we're going to start making inroads into going to Avaloran by the Last Titan. But I think Avaloran is really going to be only the expansion after this saga. So the next saga is going to see us go to Avaloran and to the other lands there. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, we said 5 minutes. We've been here for 15. Longer, actually, 18 minutes. I really do have to go. The shops are closing in about half an hour, and I haven't been there yet, so I have to go. I want to thank all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me, for spending your Friday with me. I hope you had fun. I had a ton of fun talking to you and hanging out with you and discussing lore and nerding out about World of Warcraft. It's amazing. Yeah, we always do longer than I say. I usually say 5 minutes, and then it's like an hour later. Oh, shit. Here we go. But no, I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you want to join me for more streams, come over to Twitch. Come hang out with me there. We don't discuss WoW as often, but I'm always open to discussing World of Warcraft lore and just, gaming in general. Also, I have another podcast over on a podcast channel called Mythic Banter. For those of you that want to check that out, it's more gaming related. And I do that with Rurikon and Sebiweb. So if there are any Final Fantasy fans here, you'll know who that is. Or Elden Ring fans, or Monster Hunter fans, you'll know who that is. But yeah, so go check that out as well, if you want more content to watch on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for giving me your time, right? That almost worked out really badly. I appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. And as always, be good to each other. Be kind to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.